Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa know the importance of Sunday's juicy Game of the Week matchup with the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills on CBS. And the Miami Dolphins have a real legit chance to put the rest of the NFL on notice with a win on Sunday. Now, I expect Tua Tagovailoa to do what he did against Baltimore again. Now, that doesn't mean 6 touchdowns or 4 in the fourth quarter. No, that was historic. That was one literally for the ages. But I expect Tua, with the confidence level through the roof, letting it rip. I expect Tua Tagovailoa, with Mike McDaniel, giving him confidence and calling the plays and pushing the ball downfield to Tyreek Hill, to Jalen Waddle. I give the Miami Dolphins a real shot to win. Look, the injury report for Buffalo is going to be a big deal. Is Gabe Davis going to play? That's a big deal. Is Dawson Knox healthy? What's the line going to look like? But the Miami Dolphins are for real. This is not a fluke. Mike McDaniel has changed the entire culture. Tua, we said he was going to be an MVP dark horse before the season started. The defense for Miami is legit. It's going to be piping hot, the humidity off the charts. You saw Tua's shirt during his news conference. Listen, Buffalo is the best team in the NFL. Buffalo has the best quarterback in the NFL. But if you've been paying attention the last couple of weeks, beating New England, beating Baltimore, understand what they did in the offseason with the new coach and Tyreek Hill and company, what Tua has done is not a fluke. Miami's going to make the playoffs, and I give Miami a real chance of beating the Buffalo Bills. Significant NFL news today as the NFLPA appointed appeals officer upheld the one-game suspension to Tampa Bay Buccaneers superstar wide receiver Mike Evans following this altercation with Marshon Lattimore on Sunday. And look, that means that Evans is out for Sunday's highly anticipated game against the Packers, and this was always going to be the case. I mean, you can't punch Marshon Lattimore again and expect that you're not going to have discipline. He was chucked out of the game. He was suspended. And now you saw the suspension, then the appeals officer upholds it, and it has to be the case. I mean, Mike Evans suspended himself with the actions. And, there are major availability questions and issues. And frankly, Tom Brady is the inferior quarterback in the inferior offense coming into this highly anticipated show. I'm going to bet this is the last time we see Brady versus Rodgers. Now, obviously, we could see it come playoff time, but I think that, and you see the career head-to-head numbers, I feel so much better about Rodgers and the Packers offense with Dylan and most especially Aaron Jones and Alan Lazard than I do with Brady and an offense that has been stuck in the mud the first couple of weeks of the season. The interior portion of the offensive line for Tampa has been terrible. Mike Evans is a beast. Not having him coupled with those other injuries, that's a huge deal. Hey, this is something you savor if you're an NFL fan and a football fan. Brady versus Rodgers. This is going to be great. I think in terms of 2022 and availability of the players around him, it grossly favors the Green Bay Packers. Good for Chubb and Stefanski for taking responsibility for that loss and the lack of communication, but you lost to the Jets. It can't happen. You're up by 13. What are you doing? I mean, come on. They just didn't have any timeouts. Just go down. Game's over. Even once you score, the game is over. Teams had won 2,331 straight games, and when they were up by 13, I mean, the nuggets of futility and failure are just mind-numbing. I mean, this better be a victory for the Cleveland Browns at home, or else heads are going to roll. Needless to say, it sounds like Dak Prescott's going to be back sooner than later, but why now, Jerry? Makes no sense. Your team just had this unbelievable victory against the Bengals. You have a golden opportunity with your defense to beat the Giants on Monday Night Football, then beat Washington. just understand time and place. Why would you talk about Dak Prescott coming back sooner than later when you have all these good vibes flowing with Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys? Welcome back. Time to shine. Is it time to panic? We're taking a look at 5 winless teams in the National Football League, and we're going to rate them on the official Time to Shine panic meter. Baker Mayfield says it isn't panic time in Carolina. So let's start with the Panthers. Panic level for Carolina on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 5. I do think Baker Mayfield makes an excellent point about the results of the game. They're 0-2, but both games literally came down to the very ends. They have lost by just a couple of points. Now, I think part of the problem here is this guy, Matt Rule, stinks at his job. Matt Rule is a terrible head coach, 10-25 in his career in Carolina. Also, they can't protect home field. It is wild. Only winless team over that span at home. Baker Mayfield has been good, not great. Schedule is tough. They have the New Orleans Saints coming up this weekend. Listen, I still think there's another level here for the Carolina Panthers. They've been in a lot of games, should have won if it wasn't for that bad call before the York field goal. The Baker Mayfield revenge game, that close against the New York Football Giants. But I think 5 feels about right for the panic meter for the Carolina Panthers. How about last year's AFC champs, the Cincinnati Bengals? My panic level is at a 2. I am not worried in any way, shape, or form here about Cincinnati. I think Joe Burrow is going to be just fine. I know the offensive line has been problematic, and I thought they fixed it in the offseason with 3 amazing moves in free agency. Bengals never spend money like that. See a problem, fix a problem, allegedly. But it's kind of crazy when you look at the fact that Joe Burrow has been sacked 13 times, dead last in the NFL this season. Now, they should have won the game against Pittsburgh if it wasn't for the bad snap and then the blocked extra point. Literally, that was an extra point to win. You know, you saw Brett Maher hit one at the buzzer, at the gun in regulation from 50 yards out. So they've got the gift of the schedule with the Jets coming up this weekend. So I refuse to panic here when it comes to Joe Burrow. He's still a superstar. And when you look at the defending AFC champs, Jamar Chase is a stud. Defense is solid. T. Higgins is excellent. Joe Mixon's going to get going. No panic from me when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals. How about the Las Vegas Raiders? Panic level is at an 8. Sounds the alarm. If you are a fan of the Raiders, you need to panic, and then panic some more. How in the world did you lose that game to the Arizona Cardinals at home? Look, the AFC West, this is the most competitive division ever in the history of the NFL. Best quarterback talent we've ever seen. You add Davante Adams, and he only had 2 catches last week. The nuggets of failure and futility, and this collapse to the Arizona Cardinals. And again, this is a home game, a Cardinal team that was reeling. Think about Arizona, how they ended last year, the playoff game last year, the Kyler Murray contract, Hopkins suspended, and somehow, week 1 for Arizona against Kansas City, they're the team that comes back. Look at this schedule. Tennessee, Denver, the Chiefs. I mean, it's tough. This is a must-win game coming up against Tennessee. Then they have to beat the Denver Broncos. Very doable. It's winnable. I remember I picked the Raiders to make the playoffs preseason, but that was an unacceptable loss. Now there's something to prove here for Josh McDaniels, the new head coach, for Patrick Graham, the new defensive coordinator, and even for my guy, Derek Carr. You have Davante Adams. No excuse going on the road, taking on Tennessee. Speaking of Tennessee, the old panic level is at a 10 out of 10 for the Tennessee Titans. Forget the Titans, really. Last year's AFC champs, I believe they have a 0% chance of making the playoffs. The panic meter is officially as high as it could possibly be, mainly because Ryan Tannehill is an awful, terrible, untrustworthy quarterback. I love Mike Vrabel. I know he's going to have his team ready. They were humiliated. They were embarrassed on national TV against the Buffalo Bills. The Tennessee Titans lost to the Giants. Just awful. That's illegal in most states, including Tennessee. The rankings are pathetic. Derrick Henry hasn't gotten started. The defense with Harold Landry done for the year, that's problematic. The corners are hurt. The schedule's tough. Did I mention Ryan Tannehill stinks? A.J. Brown's not walking through that door. 10 out of 10 for the panic level. Forget the Titans. How about the Indianapolis Colts? I'm going to give the panic level at a 9. This team is in major trouble. And the only reason I'm not going to call it a 10 is because the division they're in is atrocious. And I still think somehow pound for pound they're the best team in the division. But the numbers and the feel for Matt Ryan this season are in the toilet. 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, sacked 7 times. Matt Ryan looks washed in the first 2 weeks. And you know I love the trade. You know that I picked the Indianapolis Colts for the over to win 11 games this year, win the division, host a playoff game. They got shut out in Jacksonville. You watch them against Houston week 1. You watch them against the Jaguars last week. They look atrocious. The schedule is so tough. They have Kansas City this week at home. I know it's a home game. Jonathan Taylor's a stud. Somehow the spread on that game is only 6.5 points. Does Vegas know something we don't know? This has been the most ugly, underachieving team in the NFL to start the season. The panic level, the panic meter for the Indianapolis Colts is a 9.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.